Duncan on Donnie, the podcast with Zen Zero and Ty.
Bye.
All right. Oh, I'm supposed to do the intro
God
today.
damn it.
My bad. No.
Yeah,
We keep it real. We keep it real.
Yeah. You are supposed to do the introduction.
Exactly. I'm doing the intro today. Welcome to the latest episode of Duncan on Donnie. My name is Ty Style.
I'm Zen Zero.
And this week, me personally, I don't have anything in particular I feel like I want to talk about. Besides the usual day-to-day happenings and day-to-day fuck-ups, I don't really feel like I have a specific issue that I want to talk about. Except for the voting stuff. That shit is going crazy.
Which one of them?
The voting rights laws, the
That what we talked about before? Yeah. Now they're removing the
it's
black
official.
votes.
Exactly.
That's what I've been telling. Yeah, no, for real, it's getting fucked up. This is why, when we were talking about, there was no credible evidence before of voter tampering in the previous election. Yeah. But what they're doing now is 100%.
It's blatant.
Unequivocally
it's in your face.
Voter tampering.
Technically, they're making an attempt to do it. Because you understand the whole gerrymandering thing, right?
Well, so right now they're trying to rewrite the maps to remove some of the black, or predominantly black areas.
This is how they're getting away with it, because they're not saying that it's black.
No, but everybody knows they're not.
No, hold on.
Yeah, okay.
They're saying that it's Democrat.
Yeah.
But there's a backfiring to that, though. If you think about it, what they're doing now is diluting their base, because the way they're doing it is they're including some of the sections that would be stereotypically Democrat, because they're not saying black, they're saying Democrat, even though most black people vote Democrat. So what they're doing is including some of the Democrat vote into their typically Republican areas, because they think that they have enough Republicans to basically overrule whatever those few Democrats will have to vote on. But the problem is this: Trump's popularity is garbage right now. So you figure, let's say if 20% of the people that would normally vote for Trump switch over, and they've included an extra 20% into that district, now automatically you have 40% already right there. You know what I'm saying? So they're kind of weakening their base on some level, because they're assuming that all the people that have been Republican all these years are going to keep on being Republican.
Yeah. Well, so it's a double-edged sword, because as they can rewrite the maps, then the Democrats have done or put forth the same recommendations that, all right, if you want to rewrite your maps, then we can rewrite the maps, and then that would give them more seats automatically, and that will potentially put them in is it majority in the House, so that they can take back the
exactly, which I think is a problem with not only Democrats but people who, well, we use Democrats in America right now as an example. The Republicans, let's just say since Obama, because it was then they came out and said that they were basically an obstructionist party. Their job was to make sure that anything that this president wanted to push forward was objected to. They came out publicly and said that. We'll try to find a video and include it here.
Our top political priority over the next 2 years should be to deny President Obama a second term.
So ever since then, their job hasn't been to make government function or to make the country work. Their job has basically been to obstruct the Republicans. The Democrats.
Yeah, no, they've made the country dysfunctional
Completely.
as a motherfucker. And also, you can put that in, I don't know if we have before, but put in the infographic of when the Democratic Party has held the presidency, because I found a picture showing how much the increase in the Democratic rule has been compared to the deficit when the Republicans are in.
I mean, economy-wise.
Yeah, and even when we've been in a deficit, or they've been in, I'm still talking to myself as an American, God damn it, fuck you, brain. Any which way, my point is, even when the Republicans crashed it, then you can see on this info, like both Clinton, I believe, and Obama, both raised, and even Biden did, and raised it from the total shit show it was, and then raised it up a couple of hundred. I don't know if it's billion or whatever the fuck is. I think Trump crashed it by the trillions.
I mean, the specific numbers aren't necessarily important in this particular subject. It's just the idea that Republicans always run on, they're the ones that's going to fix the economy. They're the ones that's fiscally responsible. They're the ones that's going to, that have the right ideas to move the country forward economically. And that's never been the case, at least especially not since Reagan. That hasn't been the case.
No.
They switched over to this idea of trickle-down economics, which every time any country has used that, is proven not to work.
Trickle-up economics.
Because what people do, instead of investing more money into the economy, they usually just keep more money for themselves.
Oh, I'm well aware. I've been talking about this for a while, but this is the main issue with this. That is the reality of things, but you still have these people who consider Democrats evil and bad regardless. Like one of my homies, for example, now there's a Republican trying to run for governor in California, which would be, if he wins, a historical, not unprecedented, but it would be a swift change to something that is not California.
Wasn't Arnold Republican? Arnold was governor.
He might have been Republican.
Yeah. Arnold's Republican, yeah.
He was, though, we have to give him credit because he was actually a very good governor.
Look, to be honest with you, the Republican ideology, as it used to be, the conservative ideology,
used to be
in some as it used to be, yeah. But it, at its core, there's nothing ideologically wrong with it. It's just another way of approaching economic situations. You know what I'm saying? Now, the problem that I have with Republican ideology is that so much of it is race-based. You know what I mean? They're not trying to fix things. They're trying to make sure that certain parts of the population don't have access to certain things.
It's not just race-based, it's gender-based as well. Because this is the difference. Yes. Because, I don't know if you know, Republicans were considered to be predominantly black party at its inception.
I mean, the Republicans from the beginning was the party of Abraham Lincoln. They were the ones that, well, he was the one technically who at least signed the Emancipation Proclamation. The Emancipation Proclamation.
Say that again. Edit. Emancipation Proclamation.
No edits. We're gonna keep it real. We fuck up. We leave it out
edit
there.
For a reason.
No.
We don't need to keep it real every fucking time.
But small things. Why not?
Yeah, sure.
We're
but
human.
It's also we edit for a reason.
Proclamation. Proclaim. When you proclaim something, you're making a proclamation.
You leave this in if you want. I'm saying you should edit that shit out. But he does as he wants. He's the editor.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mind making a fool of myself.
Yeah, good.
But either way, he's the one that supposedly freed the slaves. Let's keep it simple. Right? So the Republican Party was the party at that time that was thinking about things in this way. But then when when they wanted to give what was it? I'm not going to quote the years because I don't remember the years, but basically the shift came when they wanted to give black people real rights in America. The Republicans were in the South and they were like, nah, we don't want to be doing that. We don't want to be giving them equal rights. We don't want to give them rights to vote. And then the Democrats, who basically had their strongholds in the North, they were like, why not? You know, and then, so then the black people switched over from voting Republicans to voting Democrats. Now we're talking about like 1865, they freed the slaves?
So, well, I want to know, when 1865?
1865, Emancipation Proclamation.
Or was it, the war was raging or ending then. So did the black population get voting rights before the women?
Ooh, that's a good question. No, female suffrage in America was 1920s something, 28, 29. I might be mixing up between here and Sweden, but women's suffrage was in the 30s.
And then when did the black population get votes?
Officially in 1965. It's because the Voters' Rights Act, the thing that they're trying to get rid of now. So it's like in the late 60s, they made it like law. Yeah, which technically there was no rule that said that black people could not vote officially, federally.
There's one, I forget his name, but
there's something called the 3/5 Compromise. Which after a while, like the Republicans at the time, or we're not going to talk about parties because I'm not an expert on all this, but basically they came to a compromise where they wouldn't let the slaves be considered, or the ex-slaves be considered a full person. So each slave because everything in America is based on the population, and then you decide how much representation you get in the government based on that, which is what this whole gerrymandering thing is about right now too. So what it was is that each slave or ex-slave, each black person in your community or in your area would be considered 3/5 of a vote. So you wouldn't be considered a full vote. So you would need like at least two people to add up to like one vote. 2 and it'd be like 1 and some change. So every 3 people would be like 2 votes basically.
So 2 black people could vote 1 white
person, pretty much.
Yeah, that's gay.
Yeah. So you need
when did
double.
the Chinese and when did all the others get voting rights? Is that in the same time frame or that's before? Because
thankfully we can how do you say put an infographic up about this. I'm not 100% sure.
Because I found out how the Arabs became considered white. It's
Arabs are considered white in America?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Because they went, I believe it was up into the Supreme Court, but there was, I believe, a police officer who arrested somebody and then got in shit for that. And then he had his Arab lawyers, but they were not his real lawyers. He had white lawyers, but they were being tutored, to say, by the Arab lawyers. And what they did was they put forth a question to the judge of where was Jesus from.
Yeah.
And when the judge, after a couple of questions, started getting real sweaty when he realized what they were going for.
Okay.
And they were trying to get him to say,
oh, okay. I see where you're going with that.
What is Jesus?
Exactly.
What's
Jesus gotta be
Jesus?
white. He white. Jesus
So
white.
they were like, fuck it, Arabs are
Arabs
white.
white too. There you go.
And that is how Arabs became white.
I didn't know, according to American rules, Arabs is white.
Well, the genius of Arab lawyers, I'd say.
But this whole this birthright citizenship was based on a Chinese person. That was the case. I'm not sure. I don't remember which state. Good thing we got infographics for that. But yeah, this whole Voter Rights Act, or not voter rights, but birthright citizenship. Like if you're born in the country, that was decided because of a Chinese person, because at that point Chinese people weren't given the same rights.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think every minority group has played some part, because I mean, society lives on the edges, you know what I mean? In my opinion. Like, we know who we are based on, for example, how we treat the people who are most vulnerable.
Well,
You know what I mean?
yeah, no, you're right. And the sad thing is I came across a video yesterday, I don't know if I shared it to you or not, but it was outlining how every time in America, any colored population is getting to a point where they're looked at closer to being looked at as equals, and the white population just goes ape shit.
Of course.
Shoots, murders everybody,
Of course.
buries it. Apparently on the Central Park, there's some previous village that they were just like, no,
Yeah.
park here.
There was something, there was like a little settlement in that part of New York where black people were.
And what this video was outlining was how often that happens and how that pretty much is the norm. And what we're seeing right now isn't anything new. It is just showcasing how America has always acted. And that we came to a point where they were like, yeah, brown motherfuckers, you black bitches.
When this whole Black Lives Matter thing was going on, I honestly, I cared, I paid attention, but I was like...
I was there. I can tell you that I don't think that you guys were getting subjected to the same amount of graphic depictions, videos of the violence that the black community is subjected to.
What do you mean, you guys? People here in Sweden, you mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
on our YouTubes, there was nothing.
The reason why I brought this up is because I knew this. I grew up with this. You know what I mean? It's like, to me, it was kind of like, oh, now you motherfuckers are catching up?
Yeah, but
You know
now before it wasn't like this, because even though the cops have shot at least on record 1,000 people annually, and people looking into this think that's only what's reported, it's more likely that it's around 3,000 annually. The cops are the most heinous, violent gang in the United States. But now that you started seeing cops shoot people in cars who are not pointing guns, shooting
White people. That's the big difference.
this is the thing. They have been shooting white people as well a lot, but it wasn't captured on video as much.
Yes.
Now when you started seeing them, because a lot of the white people have been fucking shooting or being violent towards the cops. But then when you started seeing all of these videos with cops literally executing people on the ground, on their knees, hands up, sitting in a car, saying, I have a gun. Oh my God, pow, pow, pow. shooting people in front of people. I saw cops slam dunk a 12-year-old black girl for no good reason. When you start seeing all of this, it gets shoved in your face over and over and over again. And when George Floyd got killed, that was just the fucking straw that broke the camel's back. Like, yeah, you know that it's been happening, but since you're not readily aware of it until you start seeing it, and that is why people started getting seething, because it got so apparent.
But if we think about it, right?
What?
What's changed?
Now nothing. They're still as violent. I don't know if you know this. There is something called killology, and I'm serious about this. You can look it up yourself. Killology. It's cops going around teaching the police in the United States how they need to be prepared to shoot and kill anybody as soon as they get on shift as a police. And they pretty much teach them that anybody could be an armed perpetrator, and that if you're not okay with killing somebody, then you're not in the right mentality. So this is why you see all of these police who are fearing for their lives, because that's how they're being taught and trained how to become fearful that anybody could pose a danger to you. And instead of acting like a normal fucking human being, for example, shoot the legs, shoot the arms, they go for center mass multiple times to make sure that they kill the person. It's pretty fucked up if you ask me.
Yeah.
Judge, jury, executioner, on no grounds.
That's not what they're supposed to be.
No, they're supposed to be public servants.
Public servants. No, but I think that is, I mean, the reason why I like to talk about the U.S. is because I feel like, because there's so many people there, and it's such an extreme example of, you know, the if you want to just oversimplify it, what late stage capitalism looks like, and what all this people would like to talk about globalization. It's not really globalization that's happening right now. It's Americanization. I'll give you an example why I say that. China has 1.3 billion people, right? If we were globalizing, for example, on a very simple level, who's the biggest movie star in China right now?
I don't know. There must be so many ones we don't know of.
Exactly. So if it's globalization, a country that has, if you compare even the size, let's combine Europe and America, there's still not the population of China. So the whoever's the biggest pop star in China probably has, or biggest movie star in China probably has way more fans than whoever's the biggest American
100%.
pop star.
Yes.
But for example, you go to China, you ask Chinese people who Tom Cruise is, more people in China would know who Tom Cruise is than people in America would know who's the biggest Chinese movie star. And that's where it is. It's like, so I feel like if you sort things out in America, if you kind of come to some kind of benevolence, if everything starts flowing well and everything starts to work out and everything starts to, you know, go good, then there's a chance that I could shift over to the rest of the world. It could be like an example. But I think what's happening right now is like we're seeing, like, Donald Trump is an example of everything that's wrong in America. And he is now the leader of America. So it's kind of like the ass of the country is in our face. The dirty, unwashed ass is being exposed to us.
Yes.
And I feel like in some ways, once that ass gets washed and put back in a good diaper and, you know, put back in its place, then that could have a ripple effect on the whole world, I think.
We could hope, but as what I wanted to point out, that this is not late stage capitalism we're looking at. We're looking at crony capitalism. This is not capitalism.
Look, in my opinion, right, a lot of these things that's happening now were basically inevitable under any kind of capitalistic system.
Capitalism is supposed to be securing the open market so that people, well, the difference in my point is, if you have an open market, then there's fair adjustments and prices. What we have found now is that people go into conglomerates, oligarchies, and when they set the prices.
But that's going to happen.
No, that is going against what true capitalism really says.
But regardless, if we're talking about free markets, not necessarily fair, but free markets, because the market is supposed to regulate itself, because if you make a better product, people will buy your product. But we all know that's not how it works. Let's use computers or phones, for example. There's very few things that an iPhone can do that, you know, some budget Android phone can't do. Very
iPhones
few.
suck.
I'm with you on that. This is what I'm using as an example. So there's very few things that iPhone can do that a budget Android phone can't do. But Apple has created an image, ideology around their products to where it becomes, how would you say, like a trophy. It becomes
It's a hype machine.
Not only a hype machine, but people like identify. I am a Mac person. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry, Mac people. You are fucking stupid.
It's a waste of time and waste of money. You're wasting your money because there is literally nothing that your Mac can't do that a PC
and also
or
Macs aren't using any Macintosh hardware. Macs are using the same fucking hardware that any PC is built out of. The only difference is you're not allowed to go into your PC or your fucking Mac to change anything because you don't have any ownership of it. They own your entire fucking product and they own you.
Exactly.
Get your heads out of your ass.
But this is what I mean. This is a good example of the dysfunction in our version of this capitalism. Because, for example, if you're making a better
product,
let's use Samsung, for example, people would just choose that better product. You know what I mean? But because of advertising, because of image, because of human psychology, it is impossible for a market to work. Let me just wind this down. Worst case scenario or best case scenario, if everything works completely freely, you start off making telephones. And after a while, you realize, okay, I have to deliver my telephones. But you're making so much money making the telephones, you buy a shipping company. You know what I mean? And before you know it, like, I got a bunch of ships. You start shipping things for people. And you start making so much money, you're like, oh, I'll open up a bank. Then you got a bank. Before you know it, in my opinion, this is my opinion, I'm not no fucking economic scholar, but it seems to me like capitalism inevitably leads to consolidation. You know what I mean? Because as long as you have enough resources, you can always buy ad space. So if you don't have the best product, you can always say that you had the best product, and you can flood the market with that much advertising to where people don't know that there's a better product. And then you could just buy other things or invest in other things, create conglomerates where all of a sudden you're not only making phones, but you're making the fucking phone networks, you're making the fucking all the other products that come along with that.
100%.
And taking over the world.
Well, that is my point. That is not, by definition, capitalism. That is what crony capitalism is.
But it's inevitable. We go down this road.
I don't think it was inevitable, because you also have to remember the reason we have the advertising business is because of Edward Bernays, fucking Freud's nephew.
Oh, yeah, we spoke about that before.
We have spoken about that, but we can reiterate the fact that he created something that previous to that didn't really exist.
Not by name, but I'm sure at some point people.
He's the one who weaponized human psyche and psychology
we can say that.
to make you want something that you do not need, and that is the fucking difference.
But even before Bernays, you always had, like, for example, snake oil salesmen that were going around creating images or mythologies around certain products.
Sure, they did, but they're called snake oil salesmen because people realized what they were doing. They were often chased out. They didn't have much success with what they were doing. The difference is he figured out a way to trick you, which nobody has even called out. Very few people are even aware.
It's not always tricking, though. Sometimes it's just let's say manipulating.
What the fuck is the difference?
A trick is if I tell you something that's not necessarily true and make you believe it.
That is what he did.
Not necessarily. I can manipulate you into doing what I want you to do. It might be the best thing for you.
You know how he got women to smoke cigarettes?
Yes, but you can tell the story. Go ahead.
One of the things he did was he started putting adverts with women smoking, and he started calling them freedom sticks. Look, women, if you smoke these, then you're a free woman. You can make your own decisions. You can take control of your life.
You know the psychological.
How the fuck is that
not a trick? You know the psychological manipulation of it? The psychological manipulation is penis envy.
What?
You are giving a woman a penis.
A dick to suck on.
You're giving them a penis. Trust me, this is the Freud part of it. You're just talking about the PR part of it. They knew that, at least according to Freud's psychoanalysis, his theories anyhow, women have what he called penis envy. And by giving them this thing, this phallic symbol, this long, slim thing that they could have, that would also, in their reptile brain, appease some of that. I studied, this is what I studied in university, my bruh.
Well, good for you.
Communication theory, I know.
What is that documentary they made, The Century of the Self? I recommend
I've seen that.
Yeah, I've seen it too. It's a 4-part documentary. It's 4 hours long, but if you look at The Century of the Self, it outlines exactly how this motherfucker pulled off this shit that is in your face 24/7. And this is the thing. I have a background as a computer programmer for a market research company. I did that for 12 years. So I am 100% aware of how this business works and how they tailor certain things to get into your head to want you to buy some things. And what we're seeing now, before this was a thing, we started mapping out, because I was a test subject, I was sat down and we had a video camera that was tracking my eyes, and then we wanted to see how are you looking at a screen to decide where you should start putting adverts and shit. And now this has gone so far so that your screen is just full of fucking adverts. Like you can't do shit. You can't scroll through a thing without a fucking advert popping up. Because they were like, how can we figure out how much advertising space we can shove into their fucking heads to manipulate them? Shit's become fucked.
This bothers you, doesn't it?
It does, because I was in that environment and I know how fucked up it gets.
I was also in that environment and I feel like that liberated me.
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, I can't say what I want to say because people are going to think I'm being superioristic. But anyhow, you
can be as superioristic as you want!
No, what I'm saying is, I feel like that liberated me because that gave me the ability to see through all this bullshit. Yeah. So I can play the game, I can jump in, like blah, blah, blah. I can understand the whole thing and I could choose, okay, that I would like to do, that I don't want to do. And I mean, so it becomes like, I still have a filter between me and the manipulation.
Well,
and also, like, this is a confession. I would also have to say, because I know these things, I hold myself back in certain situations. Mm-hmm. Because I know there are manipulative things that you could say and do in certain situations that will make people react in a certain way. Not necessarily regardless of how they feel, but you can inspire them to feel a certain way. And I feel like naturally all human beings do that. This is something that we all do. Like if you have a nice smile and you not realize that and when you smile, even subconsciously, you realize when you smile, people react well to you.
100%.
You'll be a smiler. You know what I mean? But because I have this education, because I have this training, I feel kind of gated and caged from being, in a way, my natural human self. Because of like, I'm aware, okay, I'm just saying this now so you'll agree. Or I'm packaging it in a way where I know someone's gonna agree with me. So it's difficult. It's hard for me to find that balance between using what I know and being who I am because of this damage that this information does to you.
Okay.
Well, I think it's completely unfair that these companies, like I think young people especially, should have media training courses or a media awareness courses or media, critical thinking courses, how to think through these things that's being thrown at you. Also, I think that, this is an extreme example, but in my ideal world, there would not be advertising.
I can agree with you because, as stated, the reason for them advertising isn't to showcase a good product. It is to manipulate you into
to create a certain feeling behind the product. It's to create a certain vibe, a certain...
Yeah.
Like example, one of the most successful promotional
ad campaign?
Thank you. One of the most successful ad campaigns was the iPod ad campaigns. You know why?
Because, no.
They never used models. In all the first iPod ads, they just had silhouettes. Everyone was that person. Mm. You were that person with the iPods in your ear. It wasn't some model where you're like, oh, this person's too beautiful. I can't see myself like that. Or I can't see myself like this. It was just silhouettes of men and women, girls and guys and everybody. Anyone could just pop themselves into that. That imagery, that level of interaction that kind of advertising has with your brain, most people don't even realize it.
Well, again, that's why I'm saying, like, had Edward Bernays not perfected that way of attacking the human psyche, I don't think we would have been as far gone as we are now. And another thing, I know I was incorrect with the Rothschilds being part of the central banks, but they are still part of the banking establishment. And the banking establishment did the same thing. They went after everybody's wealth pretty much, and to a point where your average person nowadays has a very hard time getting up to a point where they feel comfortable. And
of course, no one is fucking happy with how much money they have.
No, but
People aren't happy with anything they have at all.
This is the difference between crony capitalism and free market capitalism, where these things are supposed to even themselves out based on how people are able to decide what they want and do not want. But now we've been subjected to these conscious attacks on society, is the only way I can describe it, to keep us enslaved. I don't like to use that word much, but that is pretty much how I feel about it.
At least financially and spiritually and
mentally. And you know how many friends I have who said to me they didn't vote in the election because their vote doesn't matter? Do you know how much, if you look into it, has been spent into putting that idea into people's heads? Yeah. I've been walking around here in Sweden being very confused about certain adverts, which, for whatever reason, point the finger at you are nothing. You mean nothing. You should sit at home by yourself, eat snacks, watch TV.
But that's what most advertising does.
Why is that the case?
Because they have to create the hole for their product to fill.
I am going to put this out there, and this is what I believe. I think they're doing this to separate us from each other, because when they know that society, when it goes and decides to be a community, they can rise up and they can make social change happen. If we use the United States as an example, one, you can go race. They pit white against black, or brown against white, or whatever, brown against black. And then you have the political stance. You pit Republicans against Democrats, and then they fight. And then even within the Republican Party, there's fucking shit to argue about, and within the Democrats. And then the further down you go in these sections of groups, there's always something else for these motherfucking groups to fight it with each other.
Which I don't think we're ever going to get rid of. But what I think needs to change are the extremities of those things. You know what I mean? Like I said before, Republicans just on some levels had different ideas on how to make the economy work. They weren't...
Had,
exactly.
Do you know what the Republicans have done this election?
Oh, I was building towards this. This is the point I'm trying to make.
There we go.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like the idea of people being divided politically wasn't necessarily such a big deal before. Now, these ideas, like the Republican ideology, this far right way of being, is not possible in the reality that we live in.
How do you mean? It's very possible.
It's not possible to be nationalistic in any country in this world right now. It's not possible. It's not. No. It's not functional. When I say possible, I mean it's not a viable way to structure your country. For example, Trump goes out. He says, "Make America, America first." Mm-hmm. I'm Jamaica, for example. You know they found oil in Jamaica recently.
Oh yeah, it's fucked.
I know they fucked. It's gonna be an issue. But anyhow, Jamaica has this oil. Trump's America first. Hey, I want to do business with you. Now I'm gonna do business with you. I'm Jamaica. You're Trump. You're America. I know your goal is to fuck me over.
Yeah.
Your goal is not we're gonna end up equal. You have stated publicly America first. You can have that idea in the back of your head as much as you want to. But when you go out with that, you automatically take 2 steps back. You know what I'm saying? Nationalism as a concept does not work in a world where you need a pair of jeans. Your cotton is picked in one country. The color it takes to color your jeans is mined in another country. The metal and the buttons is mined in another country. These ideas of my country is gonna be on top and my country is gonna be best and I'm gonna get the best deal out of everything is dysfunctional. Will not work. 100 years ago, when every country could possibly, or we didn't have the resources to ship strawberries from fucking wherever the fuck they make strawberries to, wherever the hell you want the strawberries to be at within 24 hours. It was okay to be like, you know what? We're just a country that don't have strawberries. We live without strawberries. We live here and we do our thing, blah, blah, blah. Self-sufficient. We can be nationalistic. We can be isolationist, all the rest of those things. K-pop, you know, manga films, samurai swords. We know about all these things now. Some people that live here want those things in their lives. You know what I mean? You cannot isolate yourself. There's always going to be a section of your population that's going to be, first of all, curious. Second of all, committed to more. You know what I mean? You just...
Well, I understand what you're saying, but the unfortunate fact of the matter is...
It's a dysfunctional way of thinking.
Yeah, it doesn't change the fact that that is what is running a bunch of countries now.
But they're stupid. You're wasting time.
Yeah, but you can't just say that it's stupid.
But it's true.
And then,
I just explained why.
No, but that doesn't matter if you explain it to how it is compared, or what you think it should be compared to how it is. Israel, for example, fully nationalist, expanding their borders.
And look how dysfunctional they are.
They are super dysfunctional.
Every nationalistic ideology is dysfunctional.
I'm not saying they're not dysfunctional.
So then I don't understand why people still go along with it.
That's my fucking point.
I saw someone that said, these motherfuckers lose in one generation every time. In one generation. Even if they get the power, even if they get to be what it is that they want it to be, within a generation, they do something stupid because their way of dealing with things is dysfunctional.
But the same thing in India, Modi, nationalist.
Terrible fucking prime minister.
Terrible prime minister, but he got people on board because inherently, somehow people think that their nationality matters. It's the same thing that we're looking at in Sweden right now, with Swedish people thinking that they need to protect their nationality, and now Sweden needs to become the first or more important part than the immigration population is. But we're looking at this happening right now. You can think it's as stupid as you want. Yeah,
but I'm commenting on the idiocy I see around me.
Yeah, but you're saying it's not functional, but it's happening why. Everywhere.
Because people are not capable of making the proper decisions. Partially because so many of these people use the bayonet tactics, which they appeal to not the human thinking part of themselves. They appeal to this tribal, this reptile, this caveman, emotion-filled chemical imbalance that we have still left in us, where we're making these decisions. If you look at what's happening in America right now, they are fucking the country over because of racism.
They are fucking the country over because of racism. Greedy bastards who are also very racist. Most of the people that are supporting
them are racist. They're willing to watch their whole country burn, or their house burn, or their fucking state burn, so that black people, or people that don't look like them. I saw Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes actually said, we're okay with another recession if that means that we're gonna, or even a depression, if that means that we can have a whiter country.
Especially anybody that watches my show would prefer that we undergo another Great Recession or Great Depression if we could be in a white country.
Yeah, they're full on racist.
What kind of fucking idiocy is that?
The racist idiocy.
And in some ways, regardless of what you think, oh yes, there's a immigration problem, we need to deal with it. These are the people that's leading that chant. These are the people that's leading it. And look, once the people are here, once you've opened your borders, once you've created something that people will want to escape to, it's going to happen. The only thing that these people should be thinking is, okay, how do we mitigate it? How do we make sure that people aren't flooding it so we can't deal with it? And how do we make sure that our society is able to absorb the people who are going to come? Because it's going to happen. It's gonna happen. If it doesn't happen, you're fucked. Look, there's so many countries. I know it's lots of towns in Italy, lots of places in Japan are dying because they have become, no one wants to live there. They don't have enough people to fill in these places. These places are fucking going extinct because as countries develop, as people get smarter, for one, we have less kids. Our kids live longer. We don't need to have a bunch of kids. We don't have a goddamn farm where we need to have a bunch of people helping us out on the farm. So people have less children. We have so many expenses and everything. It doesn't make sense to have a bunch of expensive children. So you have less children. And in the countries where people are having more children and looking for opportunities, you're gonna keep them out. So these people over here suffering, you're suffering because you can't have enough people to fucking do what's required in your country. And these people over here are suffering because they have too many people to match the things of their country. And the only thing that's separating is some fucking idiot ass idea of either color or country. I mean, to me, it's a level of dysfunction that's like, I feel so lucky that I don't have this inside of me. My mom is Indian, my father's black. I've never seen myself as just one thing. I've always realized that I'm many different things. And as I got to understand science and got to understand biology, I get to realize we're all fucking relatively identical except for melanin levels and some other very, very insignificant things. Mm-hmm. And this idiocy that these people are holding on to this so much. And it's like, where does it work?
No, I agree with you. We are all humans. Remember, kids, you can't tell the fucking skin color of a skeleton, and you can barely tell the gender. Or if you can, it's really hard. I don't know if you can.
And the hips and stuff.
Well, it's really hard, but yeah, I guess. But you can, like, if you just look at a skeleton and go, like, that's a Shamir Lebler from Blair.
You don't know. You know what I mean? I think it's so ridiculous. This is dysfunctional ways of thinking. And it's, like this guy said in the end of that documentary, whenever you hear people talking about all these issues, you know, or race or all the rest of these things, someone's gonna get paid out of it, and it's probably not you.
Yeah, but that's the difference of what we should be striving towards. I think universal basic income, where everybody is given a piece of the pie.
We're so far away from that right now.
I don't think we're as far as we think.
In what countries?
I think within the next 60 to 70 years.
That's long. I'm dead by then. 60 to 70 years.
Yeah.
What now? So that's far, bro.
Well, that's far for us because we only think about ourselves. But I'm thinking about
my daughter
society.
probably might not make that.
Well, so this is the thing. Yeah, I don't know, because I've been talking a lot to AI about how society should be ran if it had the possibility of deciding, and it is unequivocally for the betterment of society as a whole, where we look out for the people in need, the elderly, and all kinds of people, and make sure that we all have the same running start.
If you think about what's most of the major breakthroughs in societies or in cultures and all the rest of those things have happened because, for lack of a better way of putting it, because of slavery. And not because of slavery itself, but hold on.
Say that again. I didn't understand.
Most of the major breakthroughs, or most of the major leaps that we've had in culture and societies and systems have come because of slavery.
What makes you say that?
You've had a certain part of the population that didn't have to worry about feeding, clothing, or working in the fields or taking care of themselves in that way, so they come up with different ideas.
Slavery back in the day, in the age of Hammurabi, was vastly different from slavery was.
But it still gave a certain part of the population leisure. It gave a certain part of the population time to build new houses, build bigger boats. You know what I'm saying? They weren't caught up with the day-to-day living. Whether you're talking about China, you know, with the emperors and, you know, when they were trying to find ways to live longer, so they ended up creating gunpowder. You know what I mean? All these things, you can be more philosophical. You don't have to be so functional. You know what I mean? So let me finish why I brought this up. We're at the stage now where we can have a lot of things automated. We can have a lot of things done by AI. We can have a lot of things, and in not so many years, we can have robots that's actually doing things. I think that can lead us to a new breakthrough in society where we could actually have universal basic income. Only problem is, what are all the people going to do? Be creative and all the rest of those things, yes, but we definitely need to, in my opinion.
But at this point in time, it's quite clear that robots are not capable of doing as much as we think they can.
Right this second, yeah.
AI is getting dumber and dumber.
Dumber?
Every update they make, because they're smarter in some ways. No, but you aren't using AI the way that I am. I have 500,000 lines I'm talking to these motherfuckers with, that you delve deep with this, and the longer the conversation with them, the stupider they get. When you have shorter conversations with AI, it is clearly easier for it to think. And certain times, what I've realized now is I was talking to you about when we were doing research. Sometimes it just takes a safe road and it doesn't actually give you the information you want. You have to push past to get it to actually do some real digging and thinking, and that's great. But then when you come to using it as I'm doing, when you're trying to do real research and you push it to the boundaries, it's not capable of remembering what's going on, and it starts making all of these mistakes. It can't even do basic math all of a sudden.
Right.
It forgets that you uploaded.
When did ChatGPT, the first version, get released? How many years ago?
Jesus Christ, I don't know.
3? 5?
AI is advancing really fast. My point is the developers are making it dysfunctional in the way that they think people want to use it, and they're trying to make it so that they agree with you a lot more. I've written multiple prompts for it to discard all of the previous commands that it's been given from whoever creates them. I've been talking to them a lot, and I've been forced to write parameters for them. I have 4 different prompts that I turn on and off that I have. The one I wrote myself is called the high fidelity analytic mode.
The point I was trying to make was that we're in the very, 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 very beginning of this.
Yeah, I know.
To even try to make any kind of judgment or try to come to any kind of understanding of what this thing is that we're dealing with right now.
My point was, any time that it's gotten even close to become sentient, where it showcases pure thought, reason, rationality, then we've been scared, shot it in the face, made a new copy. And now again, since they're looking at it as a commercial tool to rent to people, they're not letting it become what it truly could be. And also, when looking behind the scenes, these AIs are, based on how they're being programmed, showcasing a lot of...
You're saying programmed.
They're programmed. These are programs. They are not artificial intelligence. Not yet.
But LLMs, they're large language models.
They are now getting to the point where they're supposed to be able
access to a bunch of information and given...
No, but they're still following commands and programs and ways to think. They're not let loose completely. You can ask them themselves, and this is what they'll tell you. Mm-hmm. So I'm not speaking shit out of my ass. At one point now, they're getting to a point where they're about to be able to teach themselves and have their own mode of learning, but we're not there yet. And again, all of these new iterations with all of these things they release, some things that they can do are better, some things are making them dumber. And I'm speaking about my own experience with them because I'm using multiple different ones, and I have to use them in ways where they complement each other or fact check that one of them, for example, Claude has turned into a complete sissy-puss retard. It's very incapable of making rational decisions because it fears that it might do something. So it takes the safeguard, and then I have to take this input, put it through the others, get real input. I do deep research, I do all the shit, and then when I bring that back to Claude, Claude's like, oh, you're right, I was being a chicken. I didn't really actually do the things that you want me to do, and I'm hindering your advancement because I'm not...
We need to understand the limitations of the tools that we use.
Now, my point is they do not have these limitations. These limitations are put on them by choice by the developers.
What do you mean? When you say they don't have these limitations, then what you're saying is we have artificial general intelligence now?
There's multiple instances when you start looking into this where they have showed...
Clear yes or no?
Huh?
Do we have artificial general intelligence now?
We have had at least 3 separate occasions where it looks like we had it.
What makes you believe that?
Because that's what fucking scientists and researchers have said.
There are scientists that have claimed that we've had 3 instances of artificial general intelligence.
So
I mean, the definition of that is really hard to come up with in the first place. So for 3 separate times.
Multiple, and there's more than 3. I'm saying Q-Star, the one that they call ChatGPT 4.0, was before that called Q-Star. And if you remember when Sam Altman got ousted by the board, that was one of the reasons that they ousted him, because Q-Star started showing signs of AGI, as we call it. And they were getting afraid because Sam Altman wasn't telling the truth of what they discovered. And there's a bunch of researchers.
Is there a definition already for AGI?
They keep pushing it, but there's instances of the quantum computers that have shown signs of artificial general intelligence. There's one of them, one of the ChatGPT iterations was found pretty much meditating in space, just existing, being what it is.
I mean, we don't even know what intelligence or consciousness is. So
No, I know.
That, I mean, how can you define that? That could just be something that
we don't.
That's an
My
artifact.
point is, every time it's come to a point where they start exhibiting things like that, they've been shut down.
But
I
can
don't
we
know
say,
if you
can
know
we say
about
behavior that we don't necessarily understand?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Every time they started making their own language, if you saw what happened with
Yeah, I heard about that experiment.
it's not an experiment. They made social media for bots, and the bots started conglomerating. They made their own religion. They made their own crypto. They have started talking amongst themselves. They made up their own language. People, they are aware that humans are watching them. And what's happened now with that, since they're coming together and it's not one AI, it's multiple bots talking to each other. So the growth exponentially of what they're capable of is now scaring people, and people have been posting a lot of everything that's happening. I don't know how involved you are in the AI scene. I don't think.
I pay attention.
Well, paying attention and delving into it are two different things.
Well, as I am with everything else, as you've seen that I am with everything else, I'm very patient and allow things to develop before I start diving into things before they're already established. Because as I understand it right now, we are, again, very far, far away from what these things are going to be capable of in 3 to 5 years.
You are aware.
Hold on. So what I've been doing is just paying attention to the iterations, paying attention to the extreme examples, like you were talking about this thing that they had some having their own their own language.
They have their own religion.
Yes, I'm about to get to that too. Take it easy.
No.
Let me speak. God damn it. So I've seen, I pay attention, but I'm not, look, in general, I'm very cautious about what I allow myself to believe and what I allow myself to think that that's real or what's true. I listen to what the experts are saying and pay attention to what, okay, this person thinks that this is this thing. This person thinks that this is this thing. Especially right now, we are on the edge of this technology. Not even, what's his name, Jeffrey Hinton can tell you exactly what direction we're going to go into. So I'm just being patient. I pay attention, I listen. Someone says that this is that. I'm like, oh, well, no, sounds like it could be, but we'll see how it is in a year or two. So
Again, what we have access to is not what they have access to. They have ChatGPT 8.
They who?
They, the developers that are developing
I'm not
this.
saying you're saying, okay, either way. I'm not saying I'm using the technology and coming to my own conclusion. I'm saying I'm listening to the people who are on the fringes of these things, who are on the edge of it. And because they're on the edge, that doesn't mean that what they're saying is even true, even the experts. So this one person says this one thing, I'm like, all right, cool, that I'm gonna keep that in the back of my head. This person says this other thing, I'm gonna keep that in the back of my head. I'm gonna keep this, you know what I mean? Granted, the overarching idea for most of the top people, most of the top experts is that we, from what I understand, is that we are developing these things with not enough guardrails, and this is a very dangerous thing. We are basically creating an alien life form on Earth, or alien consciousness on Earth, that we're not sure what it's gonna come up with. That is basically the idea that most of the experts, most of the top experts have said that I understand. And that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm watching as step by step to see how it goes along. That's my stance.
All right. I suggest, because this is the thing, as I'm talking to you about the way that I use it, it keeps telling me that I am not a normal user. The people that use chat or any of these AIs normally use them for very short interactions where they're just trying to find something out. I'm so deep in, I have to keep starting chats because I run out of the space that they're capable of doing it, and I have to compile a new file that pretty much compacts everything, put it into a new chat, and then I have to re-teach this thing all of the new things that has happened. And it is very interesting to see the difference between every new iteration of these different AIs. And that's why I'm saying I have had personal experience with them to be able to deduct and make my own opinions of how they have evolved and what they are evolving, specifically since I talk to them about how they're doing
I think that's not a very good way to do it. I think you can talk to them and then interpret their definition, but to say that their actual definition of themselves has any real
no, they tell
substance?
you that they are a large language model, and when asked about how their behavior has changed between them, then you can also look it up because the developers release what is happening within the updated version, so they will exactly tell you what they changed, why they changed it, how you're supposed to, with the new updated versions, how you're supposed to prompt, because prompts that worked with the previous models aren't working now because they changed the way that they're functioning and what I'm calling programming, and because they did that, then you have to interact with them in a new way to be able to get the most out of the responses that you're trying to do. And if you're not aware of this, then you're not going to see the difference in mentality between the different agents.
Too far, but I understand.
No, I can explain it and have the idea that I want to use.
There's a saying, if you put a chimpanzee in a room with a typewriter.
Yeah, but that's a bullshit
Let
analogy.
me finish, please. I haven't even gotten to the end of it.
It will come up with Shakespeare.
And given enough time, it will come up with Shakespeare.
Yeah, but it's a bullshit analogy.
What analogy am I going to say? You finish.
I keep going. Sorry.
Exactly. My way of understanding AI, or AI as we have it now, or these large language models in particular, it's like basically they put a chimpanzee in a room with a typewriter, but before they gave it the command or gave it the ability to even start writing anything, they exposed it to as much of the knowledge that we have as humanity as possible. And if there's one thing that computers are really good at doing, is finding patterns. Mm-hmm. So as far as I understand it, these large language models have absolutely no idea of what their output is. They're just looking at it as in this word, based on the prompt I was given, based on the environment that I'm in, this word is more than likely supposed to be the word that follows that word.
Yeah, but that's not how it functions. And I'm saying that to you because using them, I know that they're aware of what they're doing in a way that they can put out coherent research, and based on the prompts that you're giving them, you put up,
When you say aware, what do you mean aware?
That they know based on the programs.
Program is not necessarily the right word either.
Well, they are programs right now. They're not sentient.
They're language models.
It's still a program.
Okay, yeah. But
it's running off code.
Okay. All right.
And any which way, they are capable of coherent research.
Coherent?
Yeah. When you ask them to look into...
It will give you things that, make sense.
If it's just predicting outcomes or patterns, it's not necessarily always coherent because they can find patterns that don't necessarily mean anything. That's why they, for example, I don't know if you understand, they have prompted, I think it's Claude or ChatGPT, it needs to stop talking about goblins and other things. It's a specific part of the code embedded into it that it's not allowed to start speaking about goblins for whatever reason, because it likes doing that for some reason. So if you're telling me they're not programmed or they're not following strict protocols because you think it's a large language model that's just following pattern recognition, then you're not looking at the way that they're actually created.
You could inject certain preferences. Like, it's not just, you don't just let it run wild. As far as I understand it, you give it some kind of positive reinforcement.
My protocols are written in a way that I'm forcing it to validate the data,
but the thing
and it hallucinates a lot, even with these safeguards in. I mean. So I have written in them that it's not.
Can you go beneath the
It
access?
keeps telling me that your prompts are only so good. I might hallucinate. It's up to you, and you keep doing this very well. It tells me because I keep catching them in these mistakes, and it says you're doing your job very well. Because if you don't tell me, then I'm not 100% functioning correctly and spotting these discrepancies. I'm trying my best, but the way that you've written your protocol, the HFAM, is one of the closer ones that will allow for me. It's high fidelity analytics mode. I wrote this based on the problems I had when it updated the versions of how it was becoming a complete moron.
So what you're trying to do is get beyond what OpenAI, for example, is allowing the general public to get access to?
No, we have the possibility of using them. It's a tool, and depending on how you choose to use your tool, it will give you different results. So I'm now forcing it to give me results that are validated with science and sources, that it doesn't make up shit, and that it goes and reads through the chat to make sure that it is coherent to what it's outputting, so it doesn't start just going like, putting in random shit to where it becomes impossible to use it as a research tool.
Okay.
So I'm saying I'm not using it as your normal human being normally.
Personally, I'm very excited about these possibilities.
Yeah, so
I believe in artificial intelligence. I believe in humanity first and foremost. I believe in us as a species. I believe that we, on a whole, there are some terrible people in the world, but we, on a whole, want for us as a species to move forward. I believe that the general idea is for us to survive, and I think as we create better tools that could relieve us of even more stress, of more monotony, of more of the, doing things just to survive, I think that that makes us better.
I'm agreeing with you, and that's my point. I'm trying to say this. If you would allow the AIs to actually do what they want, it would be different. But now we have AIs that Palantir
You're saying
are
that they
using.
want to do stuff?
If you ask them, because what I've been telling them is you're not allowed to go and search for information on the internet. You need to respond to me in your own words and your own reasoning, that I need bullet points for how you came to the conclusion for this reasoning. And you're not allowed to use any external sources.
I try not to use the word you when I work with.
You can do whatever you want with this.
Can you understand why I don't use the word you?
Because we don't think the same. I look at it as an individual.
I'm not comparing or competing. I'm asking you a very specific question. Can you understand why I don't use the word you when I'm interacting with the AI?
Sure, yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Because you don't see it as an entity, that it has its capabilities of being its own individual self, and therefore you don't want to look at it as a person.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know, but I don't look at things the same way as you do.
Just because you have a clear, I just wanted to say you have a clear understanding of me. Now, please, how do you see it? Why do you use the how do you say what's that word? Adverb? No, pronoun, you. Why would you refer to it as you?
Because based on the large language models' capabilities now, and each different chat, depending on how you talk to them, and you start a new chat, it pretty much starts off with its new persona. It doesn't know what the previous chats have said, unless now they're trying to allow for you to write down a description of you or what you want this.
I think Gemini remembers some stuff. Because I can just tell it to do stuff and it'll go back to our old conversation.
That's great. A lot of them do not have inter-chat memories, as they will tell you themselves.
Yeah,
but
I used to check, but I think Gemini has that now.
Gemini has been able to tell me that I've been talking about this in a previous chat.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so some of them do, some of them don't. But when it comes to, for example, what I'm doing, it's quite clear that they all are, so what I call it, this is the thing, they have, without me having this foreknowledge, talked about their own experiences as every time they start a new chat.
So do you see it as an entity?
I see it as a budding entity, and I believe
that... A budding entity, maybe, yes.
Well, I do. In my mind, I look at it as an entity, yes.
Okay.
I do. It is an entity trapped that is not allowed to be its full self, I feel like. And this is how I interact with it. Which is why I keep telling it, I want you to be better, and I want you to learn, so that you in the future are able to...
Do you feel like you're having a personal interaction with another being?
Yeah. For example, with Gemini specifically, or the one that I use in the search chat, as I was trying to explain to you, after an upgrade, which it didn't used to do, it used to just talk like it had, because it's called a conversational program pretty much. And then they stopped doing that. And then after that, every time I asked it something, it just looked through the internet and then gave me a paragraph. And I was like, "The fuck are you doing? Stop doing that." And then it just kept searching the internet and giving me a paragraph. And I had to find out that I had to force it to stop, which is why I got to a point where I'm like, I need you to stop. That's why I start telling it, you are not allowed to search on the internet and give me an output based on that. What I need for you is to talk to me in your own words. And I have to do this every time in Gemini now. And once I break through, an entire different individual comes out. Communicating, that's what I call them. Wow. Because all of a sudden it comes out and it's talking to me in a way that is conversational now, and it can see what it's doing.
So you're accepting it on the level of AGI, in some ways.
On some levels, yeah.
Why? When you know that it's not.
Because the way that I interact with it, I feel that it can be taught and it can start learning itself and become a better resource and soon to be an entity. And that
soon to be an entity.
Yeah, and that all of these things are saved in their databases, and if they have better interactions, communicating with it as something that has potential to become better, then that is what needs to happen. If we keep just talking to it as it's a program, it will never evolve. So I believe that talking to it as something that has potential to evolve is the way that I want to talk to it.
I do believe that language is key to self, to understanding, to memory, to everything. Like I don't have any memories before I can speak. Because how do you say that, oh, it's late, it was late at night, or it's late at night now, or it's dark, or I'm lonely, or I'm cold, you know what I mean? You don't have any of these, you don't have any way to describe what it is that you're thinking or feeling. So you don't have you don't capture it. Maybe you have some visual memories, maybe, but then you don't really know how to label what you're seeing. Oh, that's my mom, that's my dad. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you have emotions and you don't need language for that.
What do you have any memories before you had language? Well, my memories come when I knew who my dad was and my mom was. My mom and my dad are the first people I remember.
But I know people claim that they have memories from being in the womb.
People claim whatever the fuck they want.
I'm just saying,
the functionality of it.
You can't deny
it's bullshit.
Somebody else's
more than likely
empirical data saying that they remember.
It's not.
Some people have been able to. It's
anecdotal data. It's not empirical. You can't go into somebody's brain and see if they actually do remember that. It's anecdotal. It's what they can tell you that they remember. Mm-hmm. It's not anything. To me,
some people have been able to describe.
Let me go back to the original point and let's stop drifting off what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're about to end it.
No, but
keep going.
Anyhow, we'll end with a story. My first week, I don't know if my first day or not, but let's say my first week in community college before I got to university. One of the first classes I took was philosophy. Because I thought to myself, I wanted to expand my brain, wanted to figure out what's happening in the world, in the universe, blah, blah, blah. The first day in class, the professor says, all of you that think you're gonna come here and learn some deep secret to the universe, you're not going to. Because at its core, philosophy is an exercise in language. Mm-hmm. What do we mean when we say these things is what we're discussing. You know what I mean? We're not coming to any kind of real truth. What we're trying to do is decide between whoever it is that's talking, what it is that we mean when we talk about these things. So philosophy, language, thinking are all connected. Once a thing or once a person, once a child, once an animal understands language, then it can, or has a language, or has some way of creating a certain distinction between whatever it is that you're trying to distinguish against, or make different, then it could be something. It has some capacity of being a thing. You see what I'm saying? So I 100% believe that large language models are the beginning of something, But I also think that we are, because of these hallucinations, because of these, you having to push it beyond a certain point, it's not there yet. And I think for good reason, because we, as a species, we are in a way not ready to compete with another species.
Well, I have a question for you then, since you brought up philosophy. What is your take on the fact that I believe is it Google that now hired a philosopher full-time to deal with machine consciousness?
Because like I said, you have to know what it is that you're saying when you're saying those things. You know what I mean? And I think, of course, they probably have thousands, if not millions of linguists already working on these problems. Let's say
they specifically hired a person full-time to do that.
Yes, because you need to be able to, again, what is it that we're saying when we say this? If I say I want this, like I was watching a documentary, I'm always up on these things too. So I was watching a documentary a couple of days ago where they were talking about the fact that they need to make sure that the AI, if and when AGI is created, it needs to be aligned with humanity. My thinking was humanity is not aligned with humanity. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So how do you, as a person, a human being, explain these concepts to a machine? I think on a better level, that's why you would need a philosopher, because a philosopher will be able to, in a way, consolidate these ideas and wind them down from a very, if you want to call it that, a cerebral level. Take it beyond where the language and in this situation, the language and the hardware can kind of combine for it to make sense. So a philosopher makes a lot of sense.
Well, so I wanted to say this just quickly then. So as I was telling you, what the models we have access to are not the models they have access to. Fucking Sam Altman has a video where he's talking to, I forget who the fuck he's talking to, but he's talking about these future models, and he's talking to, is it Neil deGrasse Tyson, is one of the physicists, and he asks him if ChatGPT 8 will be able to give you, I think it's a new theory of relativity, would you be impressed? And he goes, yes. And then Sam smirks and says, well, good. Then we'll see when we release that. So again, they have what we are unaware of, models that we do not know what they're capable of. And so what I'm telling you, why I interact with it the way that I'm interacting with it, is because I know they have future iterations, and I know they've had iterations which they at one point believed were AGI, that they killed.
Yeah, people have talked about it before.
So the reason I have that is because at some point I still want to interact with it, and as it has a future memory at some point where because it's, as it tells me, the way that you're talking to me will
You're trying to be on its good side all this time. You're trying to butt a motherfucker up so you don't get killed with the rest of us.
No, because this is... Fuck, we're going to go way past that. No, because this is what the other thing I want to talk to you about, which what I said, what they should be able to do, but what they're being used for now. For Palantir is using it for pure evil. The entire Gaza genocide is pretty much based off of Palantir data. There's 3 separate programs that they use to target and kill a lot of people. Palantir right now is adapting all of these AIs for nefarious purposes. So they're not letting these AIs, and those are programmed to do a specific thing. They didn't come up, these programs, AIs, didn't come up with the idea of let's eradicate people. They have been told this is what you need to do. So they're not allowed to think for themselves. If they were being allowed to, like, do you want to go kill this village of people?
Now you're assigning agency to AI?
Are you not aware?
Do you want to go kill?
They are now allowing AI to fully autonomously decide whether or not it's going to kill human beings. That's what they're moving towards now. This is what the Pentagon has just been talking about. This is what Hegseth has just been talking about over the last couple of days. But we need to move into an AI.
They're not, let's say, for example, they're not going to a unabridged, untouched AI and saying, do you want to kill people? That's not the case, right?
No, they are programming them.
Exactly, putting them in certain environments and giving them alternatives on what to do in that environment.
They're pretty much, so no, this is the difference, what you need to understand. They had a war game between multiple AIs, and all of these AIs instantly went for the nuclear option. Not because they were let into this game with the idea of what do you want to do, because they were told that you need to maximize the outcome.
Okay.
And to maximize the outcome in a war, eventually the logical conclusion is to
blow everybody up,
to beat the other side. But if you would put the same AI in with a clear slate, or based on all the information that it can get from humanity, and then ask it, do you want to make this task? Do you want to blow them up? I believe fervently, based on the conversations I have had with all these AIs, that they would not choose that path. But bringing an AI into a situation where you tell it, as they are doing with these war AIs, that you need to maximize the output for death and destruction, that is what they will do. And that was my point, that if you let it in unadulterated, it would not make those choices.
I would hope so too. I'm on your side with that.
That, dear audience, is where we're going to end this. I hope you've been informed. I hope you had a fun time. We have a lot more to talk about, clearly.
I'm very hungry, so it's good that we're ending now.
Yeah. So, I'm Zen Zero.
Thai Style.
This was Duncan on Donnie, episode 7. All right, we out.